Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Camille Esick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast for innovators and Creators Connect. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. We have a lot of great things coming up for this show as we kick off the month of May with new live, new faces, and new conversations. So right now, go to Facebook and subscribe. Follow us at Facebook at the Speaker Podcast, on YouTube at Camille Esick, and also on Instagram at Camille.Esick. Or you can send me an email at the Speaker Podcast at gmail.com. And if you have not heard, I've launched my website. It's now out and available. So you can go right now and subscribe at CamilleEssick.com. That way you get all the latest, a little bit about me and the podcast. With that being said, y'all, I'm so excited to have this guest here tonight. She is a sister. I'm getting to know her more and more. She is fabulous. And we're going to get to all those things. But right now, we want to welcome the one and only Destiny King Cannon to the Speaker Podcast. Hey!
Hey.
I'm so excited you're here. You're doing so many and major things there in the greater Atlanta area and across the country. So those that are not familiar, just let the listeners and viewers know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, so thank you first for having me on here. It's an exciting experience being on the Speak Her podcast. Okay. You are also making tremendous waves, and I honor you. You always do everything that I see in such excellence and
Thank you.
integrity. So thank you for having me on here. So as you said, I am Destiny King Cannon, better known as Destiny Inspire, the confidence queen. And so what I do is I help growth driven entrepreneur and women in business cultivate killer confidence and able to catapult in their life and their business while being connected to their calling still, while still being connected to the reason in which they were placed on this earth. I do that in various avenues now. Coaching is my main way. I do group coaching. I do one-on-one coaching. I also do public speaking. I do public speaking to many various types of groups. More recently, I do radio now. So I'm a radio show host, and I'm also a best-selling author. So that's a little bit about me. But more than that, and above all, I am a daughter of God. I am a servant, and I serve. So in different capacities, but at the core, I serve.
Thank you. Just for that amazing insight to who you are. I kind of want to pick that apart a little bit more because it seems like you just have such a vast experience as far as wearing different hats. So for me, I'm naturally an introvert, Destiny, and so doing podcasting has been such a journey because I was comfortable just doing the streams, not doing the lives, and being pushed out of my comfort zone. So that kind of leads us into our first portion of this conversation as far as what has that been like for you, like your inspiration and then stepping out into your comfort, out of the comfort zone into all these different areas?
Yeah, so interesting you should say that, Camille. I am definitely an introvert.
I cannot tell.
Right. People, if you don't like know me personally, never been around me like in a personal setting, you would never know because when it's time for me to show up in my power, I call it, or in my gift, it's like a grace that God gives me to operate how I do. But outside of being Destiny Inspired, the confidence queen, speaker, author, coach, just Des, like your girl Des, she's somewhere in a corner, she's somewhere silent, she just watching, she ain't got nothing to say. Too much interactions with people. She need to be in the house to recover at least 24 to 48 hours. So like that's literally me, but it's also a beautiful thing because it also shows apart from my gift, my skill set, my training, all of those things, I also believe in the power of the Holy Spirit, which overshadows our human weaknesses. And I wouldn't call introvertism, make a word, a weakness. However, it can create weaknesses when it prohibits us from showing up in our full power. So it's been interesting because initially I started in the background as a background person that does, I started the media ministry in my home church growing up. Like I started all the social media pages, all of the content, all of the going live. We didn't believe in TV and going live back then. Like that wasn't a thing. So I was always the background person. I did all the visuals, all the presentations, so it took a lot for me to finally come to the forefront because I enjoyed being the person that pushed everybody else. I enjoyed being the brains behind operations. I was cool with that. You don't got to see me. You don't got to know my name. It is what it is. I just be a cute face, but behind the scenes, I'm the advisor. I'm all these things. So coming to the forefront, it actually took a lot to step out that comfort zone. And I'm going to tell you this. not only did it take a lot, it consistently takes a lot for me to keep staying outside that comfort zone. Because you mentioned it with podcasting, just in the audio, you can just be in it, like, you don't got to see me. No face,
Hi.
no case. No face, no case, right?
Yeah.
But when you put yourself in front, I still have to make myself get in front of camera. Like, I rarely go live, and I've tried to start making myself go live more just from the radio show, but communication is my strong point, but I like to do it from behind the scenes. So stepping out of your comfort zones is important because it'll kill you. You know, it can kill what's inside of you when you don't. And I first got my start doing that, without going too deep into the story. I heard E.T., Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher. I was introduced to him on a video, and I watched him. He has a video called Love Conquers All. During that time, I was going through a horrible divorce. I was going through so much depression, so many things in my mind. And I heard him speak. It was a motivational speaker. I didn't even know what that was. Never heard of the man. We didn't believe motivational speaking where I come from. So heard him speak. And what I felt was indescribable. What I felt was like, you know what I'm feeling right now, I want other people to experience this. I want to be this to other people. What he is to me right now, what he's doing in my spirit, what the way he's waking up something inside of me, I want that. And so it came with that, and it came with making a vow. Hey y'all, hey, share this. Hey Carissa, y'all, this is good. Hey Megan, y'all share
Yes.
this out. And so I told myself, in one of the darkest seasons of my life, I found myself under the desk of one of the office spaces I was working in, clenching my chest, rocking back and forth, what I now know to be an
Wait,
anxiety.
you were under the desk?
Yes, girl, in the fetal position. Like, I
Oh.
literally was so inundated and overwhelmed with life. Like, I
Mm,
was at that point where it's like, I can't do this no more. I was
mhm.
I was so overwhelmed, and I was so frustrated, and life didn't make sense no more. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm waking up, going to work, going to church, going home to a marriage that I feel like I'm dying in. I don't know who I am anymore. I've lost my identity. I've lost my passion. I've lost my will to live. I don't know. There has to be more to life than this. I was like,
Mhm.
Lord, this can't be your plan for my life. And I said, if it is, I've got enough faith to believe that you can change, that you can change it. And so I found myself under that desk, just hyperventilating, like, what is going on with my life? And in that moment, I made a vow to God, and I made a promise. And I told God, if you help me, if you deliver me from whatever this is, if you help me and deliver me, give me a reason to live, give me purpose. I promise to be to other women everything that I need for myself right now. And when
Wow.
I made that vow to God, I meant it, and I stood by it. And from there, everything else started opening up, and the way just became clear. And so, fast forward to the year of our Lord 2024, whenever I want to shrink back into my comfort zones, whenever I want to shrink back into obscurity, or just, I don't want to put myself out there, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be heard, I don't want to talk, I remind myself of the vow I made to God. It's bigger than you. So
Mm.
your comfort zone is not just about you. You have to get outside of it and intentionally make yourself uncomfortable, because it's no longer about you. It's about the women you're called to help, and men. And it's about keeping the vow you made to me. Because if you make a vow, different not to pay it. So that's what it's been like for me on this journey. It's a daily thing. It's a daily thing.
That's so powerful, and Destiny, as you were talking, I started thinking, like, when we're in these comfortable spaces, these boxes, and to step out, it's like a death to your ego, because in that box, we have thoughts like, "What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I don't know everything?" But stepping out requires faith, because we don't know everything. We don't have all the skill sets, and I've told people before about, with me sharing starting the podcast, I had my own lash brand at the time I started the speaker podcast. So I was really behind the scenes, and I knew nothing about digital media. I didn't know anything about graphic design. I didn't even have money to do it. But God was like, I want you to do this. And I was like, like, I don't, get out in front of the camera. But I was like, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, I need you to open up my creativity, my intelligence to understand how this works, how to create a flyer, how to even get a podcast started. And then from there, that's how I started my ebook, How to Start a Podcast for Less Than $100, because I was so afraid to get out, because I was so afraid to feel like I don't have anything to say. Nobody's going to listen. No one's going to watch, or, and just to open up and to see, like when we step out on faith, we're like a package. We have so many gifts,
Yeah.
so many skills, but we have to get out that tissue paper, that bubble wrap, and really dig inside the package, because God has placed so much into us, but we never know unless we step out of that comfort zone and discover that.
That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. And I love what you said when you talked about like I didn't have money, I didn't have any, I just did it. And a lot of times that's where we got to start. We're
Yeah.
so ashamed to be seen starting from the bottom. And that's also a comfort zone because we feel like we have to already have an audience, already have everything that we think we should have. And God is like, if you already had all the pieces, you don't really need me. So when you said it's a faith move, that's literally what it is. Like you have to step out on faith. And when you do that, he then brings everything else. Like it starts to navigate its way and find you. But like
Yeah.
you say, it's a faith step. It's a faith move.
Definitely. And just going deeper into the conversation, when we are stepping out of our comfort zone and embracing these new spaces, and you were talking about that moment where you just felt like, oh God, what is going on with me? I don't know. I don't know my identity. How
Mhm.
did you embracing your new voice, your new chapter, your new mindset, your new strength, this new place God was placing you into? Like, can you kind of unpack that for the listeners, like what that experience was like for you and what advice you have for them?
Yeah, so learning to come into my own, into my identity. So, and I say that because I got married at a fairly young age. And when I got married, my husband at the time was 14 years my senior. So there was a huge age difference. Um, and with that, I came into a marriage at a young age, not knowing who I was.
Mm,
And so then when I took on someone else's identity as a wife to become one, there were voids that I felt because now I've wrapped what I do have into someone else's identity without really knowing me. So now as I'm growing and evolving and learning, I'm like, wait, who am I now? Like I was a people pleaser. I will say I'm a recovering people pleaser. Like I literally live to please. I feel like I was groomed as a woman to please. Like that is my purpose was to please. Whatever I was a yes girl. Whatever you say, like I couldn't say no. It was like there was a movie called Ella Enchanted by Disney, and the movie was she was blessed with the gift of obedience, so
mm,
she couldn't say no. So really, it turned into a curse because her evil stepsisters found out and the stepmom, so they used it against her to try to kill the prince, right? And so I would feel like that. I felt like I was blessed and cursed with obedience because I didn't know how to say no. I had to please people. I do this, and that all pulled away from my identity. I didn't know what I wanted, who I was. So I felt like I really had no purpose. And so coming into having to learn my purpose, I always say, you don't get to pick your purpose, you only get to pursue it, right?
mm,
And so I had to make an intentional decision. If everything starts with a decision, because oftentimes as I coach women, we always start with what we don't want. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want this. Okay, we established that, but what do you want? Like you have to get clear. What do I really want? So I had to sit down and ask myself. I went through a divorce, which I never imagined. I'm a PK, so it's like we don't. That's not what we do. I didn't even believe in divorce.
me too.
That was a sin. I'm like,
Right.
that's just like God. Girl, I went through the Bible trying to find scriptures to justify. I was like, yeah, I have nothing there. I don't fit in those qualifications. So I thought. I'll put it like that. So I thought at the time. So I ended up getting a divorce, and when I was on that journey of having to now like rediscover who is Destiny, I've been a wife for so many years. I've been, I worked in ministry as this person. I've been this person's daughter. I've been, so I'm like, who is Destiny? So I first had to make the decision, okay, what does Destiny want out of life? Like,
Mhm.
what do you really want? You know what you don't want, but what do you want? And once I decided what I wanted, I then, of course, had to submit my will to God. Okay, God, this is what I'm feeling. Is this your desire for my life, though? Because the Bible says he'll give you the desires of your heart. But here's the thing, when you have now become one with the Father, Jesus prayed and said, Father, make them one with you, even as you and I are one. So when you become one with God, his desires become your desires, right? So what you're feeling is from God anyway, because he put the desire in you. So I had to go back to my roots and seek God for myself. Like, okay, Lord, what do you have for my life? You said before I formed you in your mother's belly, I knew you. Okay, who did you know? What is the girl that you knew? Who is the woman of your dreams? Because up to this point, I've been the woman of everybody else's dreams.
Mm.
With everybody else, I've been everybody's dream girl. But I never consider, I let everybody else use me but you. So once I got on that journey to decide, okay, first practical, what do you want? List it out. What do you like? So part of finding like identity and purpose, finding what do you like? And that sounds so simple, but if you ask women simple questions like that, a lot of times they can't even tell you. Because I'm used to, I eat what the family want to eat. I drive whatever. Like, we don't really know because we've never had the luxury to actually choose.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had to just go with the flow because we're the peacemakers. And all those things are good, but you still have to know within, what do I want? What do I like? What do I want? Like, so that was part of the journey. And I always do my R3 formula. I always teach my ladies, at any point in your life, as long as you have breath in your body, you can reinvent, redefine, and realign your life. You're never stuck. Sometimes I feel like we get to a certain point in life, we're stuck. Well, I've always been this way. I've always done this. I can't do anything else. I can't be anybody else. Yes, you can. That's a scarcity mindset, right? That's limiting thinking. But once you tell yourself, at any moment in my life, I can reinvent my identity, reinvent who I am, redefine life on my own terms, and realign myself back to where I need to be with my core values and with my disciplines. And so that was part of my journey. And when it comes to like, even with your purpose and having to redefine myself, a lot of times when you start tapping into these unused gifts and you just start, doing some things, the world will open up. But if you're only limited to what you know or what you think you know, you box yourself in. Sometimes you just have to take a chance. Sometimes you just have to step out there and try some things. And then when you begin to try some things, you start to gravitate to something. You start to find, I'd ask myself, what's your pain point? Like, and when I talk about purpose, the Japanese, and I'm gonna skip, but when you talk about purpose, that's like a law. That's very broad. Like,
No, that's what we're here for. I love this conversation.
So am I okay?
Yes.
So there's a Japanese term called ikigai, right? And ikigai, it's like our equivalent of purpose, except they go deeper with it. So the ikigai is one's reason for being. So when they base their life around this concept of ikigai, it's even said that it extends the life expectancy of people in their country and people in their nationality, because it's something about purpose that gives you something to live for that allows you to live longer because you know what you're after, right? And so with their ikigai concept, I love it because it's like a Venn diagram. And I use this diagram and the circles begin to intersect. And then you find that middle thing. And so I always ask my queens when we go through like purpose work, one, what is your pain point? Like what bothers you? For me, it bothered me now to see women feel like they could not start over. It bothered me to see women feel trapped into a life that everyone else made for them. It bothered me to see women feel like I'm only limited to this or that. No, baby, you're this, that, and all of the above. So it bothered me to see that because it was me. And I remember feeling like this is it. Like this is all I can do. This is all I can be. So what's your pain point? What bothers you in the world? So when that bothered me, I realized, okay, it probably bothers me the most because I'm the one supposed to do something about it. It didn't bother anybody else around me. I'm like, this don't bother y'all to see women suffering like this? No, because I'm the one that's supposed to do something about it. So what is your pain point? And then also, what does your world need? So not the world at large, your world. So your community, your construct, your area, what do they need? What is the thing that you notice that's needed? So what's your pain point? What does your world need? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Right? That adds to it. And then what can people pay you for? Like what is someone actually willing to pay you for? And when you put all those things together and you have the process of elimination, you will begin to find that middle thing that will lead you closer to your purpose. And so those are things that I had to do. I didn't know ikigai and I didn't know the terminology all back then, but I understood the concept of, okay, what's bothering me? Okay, now what do I realize my world needs? Okay, what am I actually pretty good at? Okay, you know what? What will people pay me to do? And so that led me deeper into other avenues of my purpose. Because purpose is not one thing. My purpose is not to be a speaker. That's not my purpose. My purpose is not to be a coach. That's not my purpose. That is a modality in which I express my purpose. So those are vehicles to my purpose. My purpose is to bring transformation to my world and help people tap into their purpose and their identity. And the vehicles, speaking, coaching, author, radio.
That's so powerful. Destiny, as you were talking, I started listening and it's like, man, so going into, where and who you are right now, going back to the very beginning, what do you think was probably your greatest source of inspiration?
My greatest source of inspiration.
Because so many women, hearing you speak, you've touched so many lives and you continue to do so. But what inspired you to get to this point right now?
I'm gonna have to revert back to when I first heard ET. So I was introduced to him from a guy named Kobe Harris. He was
Okay.
starting like an entrepreneur group. At the time, baby, I couldn't spell the word entrepreneur. I didn't even know how to spell it. Like, what is that? I didn't know. I didn't understand. But I made the decision, you know what? I want to speak. I want to be a life coach. I don't even know where I got that from. Because
Mm,
again, in my construct, those things were frowned upon, like life coaching, motivational speaking, like, we don't do that. But something in me was like, I want to be a life coach. I want to help people with their life. And I was like, no, I want to be a speaker. So I never spoken anywhere. I didn't even really speak in my home church. Like I never spoke, maybe like once, or we had Saturday church. So if nobody showed up on a Saturday and we didn't have nobody, they would put me up, like go do something. And I was always ready because I love to read my words, always had something. But I was going through my divorce and I decided I want to do these things. And I posted on my Instagram, I put speaker. I just did it. I took a step of faith. And then a guy by the name of Kobe Harris, he saw it and reached out. He was like, "Oh, I see you're a speaker." And I was like, "Well, I dabble in it." I was like, I dabble with it. And so he was like, "Hey, I'm starting this group, of entrepreneurs and of, speakers and coaches. You should be a part of it." I was like, I don't have nothing to lose. And so he played a video of Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher. And the video was Love Conquers All. And so in that video, the passion that he spoke with, like I'm from the church, I'm a PK. So I'm only used to preaching. Like I'm used to preaching that may or may not be contextual, but I'm used to preaching, right? But with this, it was different. Like I couldn't really explain the passion that he spoke with. You could tell it came from a deep place. And he quoted scripture without knowing it's scripture. So if you're not from the church, you wouldn't know it's scripture because he was talking to a group of young men, young people. And so when I saw him speak and I heard his story and I heard all the things that he went through in his journey, I'm like, man, like I want to do that. So like that was literally one of my biggest inspirations was E.T. the hip hop preacher, because I didn't see anyone else doing that as far as like women, like that wasn't my world. So I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't see it, but I saw E.T. and so he was like a male version of that.
okay.
So that sparked it, and that's what got me into really on this journey. Before I was a coach or out there, that is what did it. Now I will say what boosted my confidence to be able to step into it was
Mhm.
when I got into fitness, which is what you would think would
Let's
not.
talk about that because I saw your post and I was like, "What?" I just never, because we when we think of bodybuilders, we think of these big,
Big.
bulky, or even women that are masculine, and you're clearly very feminine. So let's kind of slide right over into the fitness journey.
Yeah, for
What
sure.
really got you into that?
So every year we always come up with these New Year resolutions, right? Every year we're like, this year I'm gonna do this. And so every year I kept saying, you know what, I'm gonna gain weight. I've always been a very petite woman, aka I was skinny. Like I was very skinny.
We
Like
need to trade because, like, honey.
I was cute, but I had like a little boy body. Like I was very just tiny, and it was an insecurity for me. I was
Mm,
very insecure. People would love to come up to me and like put their hand around my waist, just random, like, "Oh, you're so tiny," and that was so uncomfortable. I
oh,
didn't like wearing pants because I felt like people would pick at my legs because my legs didn't touch. Like I was so skinny and so tiny that it affected my confidence and my self esteem. And so I kept saying, I'm a gain weight, but I didn't know how to do it on my own. because I come genetically, I'm built and predisposed to be small. My father's small. Everybody on his side of the family is small, my cousins. And so I said, I'm going to get a trainer. I'm going to take it another step further. I'm not just going to keep saying this every year. I'm going to get a trainer. So I initially got a trainer just to try to gain weight, figure out how do I work out to gain weight. So on that journey, I was going through my separation and then my divorce. So what started as just something to put on weight and size, it became my therapy. That was before I got real therapy. Going to the gym, it was more mental than it was physical. Because for me, metaphorically speaking, if I can lift the weight of all of this pressure, if I can lift these heavy pounds of weight physically, then spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, I can lift any kind of weight. There's nothing I can't lift. So it had a strong mind-body connection that allowed me to be able to deal with and cope with my life better. And then as I began to see my body take form and take shape, and I began to see my muscles, I began to see these things, it built up my confidence because I finally had control over something. Because I couldn't control anything else in my life, so I thought. But I can control my body. I can control what I eat. I can control how I want my muscles. I can control my physique. I can decide, do I want to be bulky? Do I want to be slim? Do I want to be slim thick? Do I want to, I want to be muscular? So I got to control that. In that sense of control in a healthy sense, it gave me the confidence I needed to now make other steps. It's a domino effect. So once you build it up in one area, it transpires and it spills over into everything else that you do.
That's so powerful. Um, when we look at fitness and you were mentioning mental health, it really does tie together, even from a spiritual sense, because the word talks about our bodies being temples, and we talk about stewardship. And we're always thinking about just our body, finances. We think about stewardship, but stewardship also incorporates our body, what we eat,
Yes.
even how we think. So tapping into that, going deeper into this conversation, Destiny, what do you say to women that have come out of maybe divorce, life changes, and just unpacking the true power of pivoting, not only just within your spiritual self, but in your mental self, your emotional self, or even in your physical self?
Yeah, I would tell women, for one, you deserve to live and experience the highest version of yourself. Like, you deserve that. Because we help everyone else become the highest version of themselves. We're always motivating and pushing and cheerleading and championing, but we don't take that time to pour back into ourselves and realize, like, I need to pivot in these different areas of my life to succeed in all of them. A lot of times we settle for one area of success. Sometimes we may just settle for success in the boardroom, success in the office. Well, as long as I'm doing good at work, that's good enough for me. It gives me some sense of, happiness or accomplishment. When no, once you have mastered or come to a good place in that area, now let's keep going. Let's move on to the next thing. How is your health, your mental health, your physical health? On my radio show, every time I open up the mic, I say I got two questions and two questions only before we go into the next segment. Question number one, and I got a button, a hot key that says King, and in the hot key I ask, "What are you feeling?" Not how. What are you feeling?
Mm.
What headspace are you in right now? Have you taken a moment to sit with yourself and feel your heart space? How's your heart space? Are you in a good heart space? Because men as well as women, sometimes they don't take the time either and really dissect, what am I feeling right now? Not
Mhm.
just how, but what. Put language to it. I'm good. I'm fine. Also, my coins, fine is not a feeling. Don't tell me you're feeling fine. No, let's break that down. And so I ask my king, then I say, Queen, and then I ask my queens, what are you feeling right now? How's your head space? How's your heart space? And I say, take a moment, do a self check, check in with yourself, because you deserve that. You can't, we're human beings, not human doings. And we get into this rat race of doing instead of just being and becoming. And so I would tell women, you have to give yourself the permission. And even though you don't need permission, sometimes we need to hear it though. You have permission to sit with yourself, to pivot to the different areas of your life that we compartmentalize. You have permission to pivot through each of those areas and see, how can I improve in them? How can I become better for me? How can I become a better mother? How can I become a better wife? But a lot of times that starts with your own self-care. And I say it's actually selfish not to have self-care. Because how selfish is it to say that you love your children, you love your spouse, you love your obligations, and yet they don't get to experience the best version of you? That's selfish. How selfish of me to give you the fumes, to give you the excess, instead of, the Bible says, my cup runneth over. Meaning, when I fill myself up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then you get to drink from my overflow. Now that's self-care. It's selfish
Absolutely.
to not have self-care. It's selfish to not pivot into these areas of our lives and really sink into them.
That's powerful. I'm such a big advocate, champion for healthcare and self-care and mental health. And when you started saying that, I was like, that's my one of my favorite words is self-care. And I always try to make time to sit with myself. If I'm feeling away, I don't say just to stay in the feeling, but we do need to process feelings, thoughts, and experiences. That's saying there's more room out than in. You're either going to implode or explode, meaning you need to find some way to channel those thoughts, those energies. And yes, prayer is great, but there should be other avenues, whether it's therapy, journaling, physical health, physical fitness, even sometimes checking what you're eating, because what you're eating can actually um amplify the emotion. You know, if you're feeling lethargic and tired, now you're eating a lot of sugar, a lot of salty stuff, making your blood pressure crazy. Now it's only making it more profound, more amplified on what you're feeling. So making those lifestyle changes, little things, drinking your water instead of eating chips, grab a banana. You know, if you're at work, you know, I'm a heel girl. I love my heels. Throw some shoes, you know, some flats, and go for a walk 15 minutes, you know, between breaks at work. I just got a walking pad. Shout out to Regina. And so we've been staying on each other every day. Hey sis, did you walk today? You know, she was like, oh, I did 45 minutes. But I'm like, what was the mileage? Because it's mileage over minutes. So if you didn't get at least a mile and a half in, I don't care if you hit your 45-minute mark. If you got to go another 10 minutes to get that 0.5 in, let's go and let's do that. So having those accountability partners and those people around you to check in every day. Hey, what are you taking in today? Like with her, you know, she has this water challenge and she's pushing me. She sent me a message earlier. Did you drink your water today? And those things are important. Even having conversations like this, so we can kind of check our thoughts, monitor our thoughts, monitor what you're watching on TV. If you know you've gone through a bad relationship, hey sis, guess what? Lifetime may not be for you right now. You
Absolutely.
know, let's switch those things up. So what you're saying, everything destiny, everything is very on point. And as we begin to wind down this conversation, just one more point. Just because you are standing on business in such a literal sense, you have so many things going on. What do you feel like, you know, even in the world of coaching, the importance of creating community within yourself and around and people around you?
Yeah, creating community is extremely important. One of my mentors always says that isolation leads to intrusion, right? Dr. Joshua Smith, he always says isolation leads to intrusion. And so when you don't have community, you tend to make yourself a community of one. And I know that because that was my experience. I was the girl that, I didn't want to engage with people. I wanted to be to myself, by myself. I don't need no help. But which was also in a lot of parts trauma response, right? That's a whole nother. But I learned when being a part of community and building community, that's how you become better, because iron sharpens iron. You have a safe space. So in everything that I do, I always say I create sacred, safe spaces of sisterhood. Like that's one of my mantras, because I see the benefits of how our life increases and the quality of our life enhances in multiple areas when we are insulated versus being isolated. Furthermore, my pastor, your pastor, Pastor Mark Moore,
That's
uh,
my pastor too.
right, not your pastor, but my pastor, our pastor, shout out Spirit of Truth Church. He emphasizes that a lot too, about community. And so even our church community, that's been such a tremendous blessing to me, because that came in a season where I was coming out of isolation. Like I was coming out of a season where I literally was very much isolated, literally, and in the mental space, like, and spiritually. So having a church community to have people to, I look forward to driving 2.5 hours to go to church on Sundays because there's community there. There's people there that make me better, that sharpen me, that their energy, their spirit, seeing what they're doing, it inspires me. And so it's extremely important to find your community. And you can have multiple communities for multiple things. You got your fitness communities, those people that's going to help you stay on top of your health and wellness. You've got maybe your entrepreneur community. So it's okay to have multiple communities based on your need and based on your goals in life.
That's awesome. As we begin to wrap things up, what do you have coming up in the future, like books, projects, events, where people can find you on social media? And also, any takeaways or nuggets that you may have for the listeners and viewers as we begin just to wrap things up here. So, where can people connect with you on social media, takeaways, and just kind of like final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can find me Destiny Inspire on all platforms. I have a radio show from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. You can listen online at WNRRgospel.com, WNRRgospel.com from 12 to 3. Also, I coach women, and right now I'm in my 6-week program called Queen Speak, Unlocking the Power of Your Voice. It is a 6-week transformational intensive where I work with an intimate group of growth-driven women who are ready to get out of their own way, who are ready to unlock their voice so they can really catapult and show up even more in entrepreneurship, in business, and in their relationships, both platonic, professional, or romantic. So you can text me. You can go to my website, destinyinspire.com, or you can text me directly and I'll text you right back at 706-306-3909. Text the word speak to 706-306-3909, the word speak. And I would love to see if that's a great fit for you, get you in there, and we can definitely work with you. Also on the radio show, I'm doing what's called an author spotlight now. I'm looking for authors, whether you're male or female, who have a transformational message through their book, and you want to reach your ideal audience or just reach more people with your movement. I'm doing an author spotlight, which is a live interview on air. You can also text me the same number, but text the word author to 706-306-3909. That's 706-306-3909. Other than that, I'm Destiny Inspire on all platforms. Destiny King Cannon, as well. You can find me there. And if I would leave any lasting words with anyone listening, I would tell you a quote by Mark Twain says there are two and most important days in somebody's life. One, the day they are born, and two, the day they find out why. And so my encouragement to you is never stop finding out why you're here, because you're not an accident and you're not a mistake. Your life makes a difference, and your life is a solution to somebody's problem. Never stop seeking out the problem that you are the solution to, because it's bigger than just you. You are called to break generational cycles and curses in your life and in the lives of people that you are assigned to, whether that's in business, whether that's in a ministry, whether that's on a job, whether that's in a career, no matter what. Never stop waking up every day, seeking what that purpose for your life is, pursuing it, and going all the way, stepping outside of your comfort zones, knowing that you're worthy, you're good enough, you're capable, you're amazing, you're brilliant, you're beautiful, baby, you cute too if nobody told you, and you got this. So head up, chest out, crown on, and proceed like the king or the queen that you know you are. That's all I got.
That's amazing. I cannot wait to have you back to have a part two of this conversation. You've given us so many nuggets and jewels, and I hope the listeners and viewers got something from this conversation. I cannot wait to see what you do next. And I think what you're doing is so awesome. It's so exciting for a community, especially for women. So thank you for joining me, Destiny.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And just hang tight. Everyone, thank you again for tuning in. This is Camille as the host of the Speaker Podcast. Be sure to follow us online. We're on Facebook at the Speaker Podcast. I'm on Instagram and YouTube at Camille Essig. And I've launched my new website, CamilleEssig.com. And feel free to shoot me an email at the speakerpodcast@gmail.com. Tune in tomorrow night. My guest is Dr. Sean Boyd, my classmate and my frat brother. We're going to have a great conversation that'll be live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Camille as the host of the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Be blessed. Good night. Bye-bye.